oh Mazembe, 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 oh Mazembe.
On this episode of TP Mazembe, it's time to reminisce on the most successful year in the club's history, 2010, the year Mazembe taught the world to dance. It's a case of nearly there as we drop in on Mazembe's very own stadium. Construction is nearly complete, so Mazembe are good to move in. And we relive every heart-stopping moment of Mazembe's back-to-back wins in the CAF Super Cup. First up though, TP Mazembe has provided no fewer than 11 of the 23 DRC players set to represent the country at the current African Nations Championship taking place in Sudan. The DRC are of course defending champions of the tournament known as CHAN. An added bonus was the late inclusion of big stars Kaliatuku Dioko, Patu Kabangu and Mbenza Bedi. The three were banned by the Congolese Federation for missing a recently held tournament in Egypt. Mazembe successfully appealed the ban, citing that they had not been properly notified of the players being drafted. The African Nations Championship is of course a chance for players based on the continent to shine. So with nearly a dozen of the continent's finest football talents on display in Sudan, the sky is the limit for coach Mutubile Ditunga. The DRC had to bounce back from a sharp first-round loss to Cameroon in a bid to retain the trophy they won a year ago in East Africa. But with Mazembe's finest in tow and the glory of no fewer than 2 major continental trophies under their belts, additional silverware may just be en route to Lubumbashi. When Mazembe marched onto the turf of the Mohammed bin Zayed Stadium last December, they had one thing on their minds, a place in the semi-finals of the World Club Champs. And they made their intentions very clear from the get-go, given Singuluma raced down the left flank and gave Miguel Calero some early work. But it wasn't one-way traffic. Their Mexican opponents Pachuca would come closest to scoring early on. Damian Manso luckily struck the woodwork. Somehow, by a twist of fate or sheer luck, the ball rebounded into play. But then the two-time appearing Mazembe cast their magic, and before Pachuca knew it, Milota Kabangu found just the right pass, and the score was 1-0. Kabangu finding Mbenza Bedi, and he would make no mistake. But just when victory seemed assured, a moment of rash defending left Mazembe playing the final 9 minutes with 10 men. Stupiro Sunzu, the culprit, he simply had to walk. Thankfully, the win was in the bag.
Vous savez, aujourd'hui, comme j'ai dit là tout à l'heure, on a gagné ce match-là au courage. Et il y a eu beaucoup de déficits sur le plan technique et je pense d'ici 4 jours, on va s'améliorer. Parce que c'était important de faire un match complet. On a souffert, il est vrai. Et il faut qu'on soit de toute façon meilleur pour espérer aller plus loin. Et on va s'y atteler dès demain. Puis dans 4 jours, on verra bien ce qui va se passer.
And with that, history was already made from a club perspective as Mazembe qualified for their very first World Club Champs semi-finals. The news of the accomplishment traveled around the world in an instant because Mazembe were on the brink of making African history. No team from the continent had ever made the finals of the competition. Their opponents would be Brazil's Internacional. Mazembe's foe a formidable one because they came to Abu Dhabi looking for their second win at the World Club Champs. Their coach cut a confident figure ahead of the game. After all, they had beaten the mighty Barcelona for their first tournament win.
Bom, a nossa preparação está dentro daquilo que nós tínhamos planejado, né? Está indo muito bem, está correndo tudo muito bem. Esperamos que tudo isso que nós estamos fazendo amanhã a gente possa colocar em prática nesse jogo difícil, né, e complicado contra o Mazembe.
As much as luck played a part in Mazembe reaching the great milestone of a semi-final, the mighty Engelbert were anything but overawed by the real possibility of making the World Club finals. The team got into their stride in preparing for the match and their date with destiny. Coach Lamine Ndaye was his usual stone-cold self in the face of the media glare from all over the globe. The boys had done the hard work, so naturally he was confident of achieving greatness against a really strong rival. One hardly got the sense from the pre-match training that the club was on the brink of its greatest ever milestone. For 2 years in a row, Mazembe were the sole carriers of the African flag.
Ah ben, plus vous allez passer un cap, plus la montagne est haute. Donc là, c'était déjà, pour reprendre les termes cyclistes, c'était un col de première catégorie. Là, on va attaquer un col de hors série, disons-le comme ça, parce que international, c'est quand même une dimension au-dessus. Mais nous, on est là, on est déjà contents. On était contents d'être là, et je pense qu'on est toujours en vie. Et croyez-moi, on va jouer notre chance à fond, quoi qu'il arrive.
And so the big day arrived. Fans from both sides were crammed into the Mohammed bin Ziyad Stadium. As is always the case, the black and white clad force, otherwise known as 100%, made themselves heard, but they were hardly alone in shouting for their team. Internacional responded as Rafael Sobes brought out the best of Muteba Kiriaba. The burly number one of Mazembe, starting to build a real cult following all over the world. Internacional kept applying the pressure. Mazembe fans would have their hearts in their mouths early in this clash. But after weathering a storm in the first half, the second shot to life as Kabangu showed his class on the biggest stage he's ever played on. The goal was a thing of beauty, the celebrations even more so. It's not hard to see why this one needed just another look. Kiriaba would pull off some remarkable goalkeeping in this match. Some of it was world-class and definitely goal-defying. Mazembe would wrap up the match 5 minutes from time. The side's top marksman travelling to Abu Dhabi said hello to the world in the most emphatic way. Kaliutuka Dioko saving his best for when it really mattered. And with that, more history was made as Mazembe progressed to their very first World Club Championship final. Back came the celebrations, which made Kiriaba and Mazembe famous all aboard the Engelbert Express.
Énormément de choses. Je pense qu'hier, je disais que ce jour glorieux n'était pas loin. Et quand je le disais, j'y croyais. J'avais la conviction que les garçons avec qui je suis tous les jours pouvaient faire quelque chose. Et ils ont saisi leur chance. Et voilà, je pense que ça représente énormément de choses. Je pense qu'aujourd'hui, non seulement les Congolais, mais toute l'Afrique doit être fière de cette équipe-là.
Nobody gave us a chance because our player was suspended by FIFA. 2 players, the best player, one of the best players was suspended for 1 year, which no one gave us chance. And I talked to my players to say, listen, it's a team, it's not one player. If you can see even if they are in danger, they come back, all of them, to try and do their best not to lose the game.
By the time Mazembe reached the final, the football world and Africa specifically had gone World Club crazy. It was after all the very first time that a team from outside the traditional football powerhouses had gone this far in the competition. Mazembe would train harder than they'd ever done before, because now they were truly carrying the hopes of 1 billion Africans on their shoulders. But would the pressure get to them? Their opponents in the finals would be one of the world's most decorated teams in the form of Inter Milan. The side had won the world's richest club competition before traveling to Abu Dhabi, not that it bothered coach Ndaye.
Ça reste un match de football. En tout cas, c'est pas ma préoccupation de perdre ou de ne pas perdre. Ma préoccupation, c'est de bien jouer, en tout cas, de bien représenter l'Afrique, comme on vient de le dire. Et après, quel que soit le résultat, à partir du moment où tes joueurs ont tout donné, en tout cas, ont fait le maximum qu'ils pouvaient, quel que soit le résultat, moi je serai fier d'eux. Je serai fier de ce qu'ils ont réalisé jusqu'à présent. Parce que croyez-moi, ils ont fait de belles choses depuis 4-5 mois.
The boys from Lubumbashi had come a long way since their first somewhat naive outing to the biggest club football spectacle on planet Earth. No matter how tough the competition, they were ready to give their all.
Ce sera un match très compliqué, on le sait. Ça, on ne se raconte pas d'histoire. Hein. Vous savez, l'Inter reste quand même l'Inter. Quand on regarde l'équipe, c'est que des bons joueurs, des étrangers, de surcroît, internationaux dans leur pays. Voilà, mais pour nous, c'est excitant de rencontrer ce genre d'équipe-là, parce qu'on a aussi besoin de nous tester, de voir jusqu'où on peut aller. Et voilà, je pense qu'on progresse en se mesurant au meilleur. Et voilà, demain, on verra bien. On sait qu'il nous reste énormément de travail pour atteindre ce niveau-là. Ça, on est très, très lucide. Mais vous savez, sur un match, sait-on jamais.
Up to this point in the competition, players like goalkeeper Kiriaba had played way above their own potential. They were finally coming into their own on the world stage. What was required, though, was some cool, calm heads. Mazembe were dead keen on showing the world what they truly are made of.
Justement, c'est seulement compléter ce que l'entraîneur vient de dire. Vraiment, ça nous a fait du bien. Nous sommes tous très, très, très contents et très joyeux vraiment d'arriver jusqu'en finale de cette haute compétition. Vraiment, nous comptons beaucoup mieux faire encore demain pour laisser de belles images, de bonnes impressions, quoi.
With that, the team put the finishing touches to their preparations. It was about to be game on, the African dream being lived out through the adventure of the mighty Mazembe. The fans went full cry of this near mission impossible. The African continental champions arrived in the final brimming with confidence and steadfast in what was needed to achieve the ultimate glory. The match got underway with Mazembe pushing hard to gain the ascendancy, and their efforts did not come without chances at goal. The finishing was lackluster to say the least. African hearts would sink 12 minutes in when a moment of brilliance from fellow African Samuel Eto'o split the Mazembe defense, and with that, it was 1-0. Eto'o would remain in the thick of things when he found space on the edge of the area. His strike would make it 2-0. The pressure was surely mounting on Mazembe, and some lackluster defending had Melito breaking the offside trap. Thankfully, the lead would not widen on this occasion, thanks to Kiriaba. Mazembe began to settle and play the football the fans became accustomed to. Sadly, at the moment, critique, the composure that typified their tournament just escaped them. The chances fell to the African champs, but perhaps Lady Luck had changed the team she was backing, because it remained a case of so close but yet so far for the mighty Mazembe. On both occasions, the man who came closest to scoring the crucial goals was Kaliutuku Dioko, but Brazil's number one was in fine form. The run of bad luck was eventually rounded off when Inter once again broke the Mazembe offside trap. That would seal the deal. Inter making it 3-0 and winning the match and the World Club Championships. But Mazembe would not hang their heads in shame. They had made history, come what may, in just reaching the final. And even though it was not meant to be in 2010, it did not mean that the team could not celebrate in the fashion which has infected the football world.
If they can make the Intercontinental Club, they bring all the African players playing overseas in one team, I think you are going to be the best. Look at Drogba, look at Essien, all the majority of the players. People forget they see, if they want to talk about Africa, they don't talk about the African player playing in Europe. Check all the African players, the Kanu, all of them playing in Europe. I think having really very good talent. Africa have got more talent even than Brasilia.